It was a quiet evening, almost too quiet. I should have felt relaxed. After all, it was our anniversary dinner. The kind of dinner that was supposed to be special. But there was this weight in the air, something that didn't belong. It wasn't the atmosphere. The restaurant was elegant, the candles flickering just enough to create an intimate glow. It wasn't the food either. The lobster was perfectly prepared, and the wine had just the right bite. No, the weight I felt wasn't because of the setting, it was because of the people around me. It was her, Chloe, my wife. Her glass was full of champagne, her smile was tight, but her eyes weren't the same. She was staring off, almost as if she were looking at something, or someone, far beyond the table between us. The champagne, the bubbles that should have filled this moment with lightness, just fizzed quietly in the crystal glass in front of me. The waiter had just poured it, a professional gesture that should have been celebratory. But the only thing I could focus on was Chloe's expression. It wasn't a look I recognized. The last few months had been tense between us, small things that never seemed worth bringing up, yet somehow built up to a weight neither of us wanted to acknowledge. Then I noticed the shift. Her gaze wasn't on me. It wasn't on the elegant decor, or even the soft jazz playing in the background. No, her focus had shifted entirely to someone behind me. I should have looked. I should have turned and seen what was drawing her attention, but I didn't. I couldn't. It wasn't my pride that stopped me, but something deeper, more unsettling. Something told me that if I looked, if I acknowledged it, everything would come crashing down. But of course I was wrong. It was already crashing. Her hand twitched toward her glass. I could see the nervousness in her fingers as she touched the stem, almost as if she were trying to ground herself in something solid. As if she were trying to hold on to something she didn't want to let go of. But she had already let it go. She had already made her choice. I finally looked. Sitting just 2 tables away, smiling in that calm, confident way he always did, was Jared, her boss. I had met him a handful of times, just formal handshakes at company parties, awkward small talk. He was tall, lean, with eyes that never quite felt genuine. I always got the sense he was studying everyone around him, including me. But I never thought much of it. Why would I? He was just another face in the background. Except now, he wasn't just another face. He was there. His presence was too strong to ignore. As I watched him, I could see Chloe's expression soften, her lips barely parted in a smile, something I hadn't seen in weeks. She looked relaxed around him. In a way, she hadn't looked around me for months. I wasn't just paranoid. I wasn't imagining it. There was something real between them. It felt like my heart stopped. The world shifted in that moment, and for the first time, I knew something was terribly wrong. I'd heard the rumors, whispers about them, about their late-night meetings, the trips they took together for work. But I had always brushed it off. I told myself, they're just colleagues. It's nothing. But then the waiter arrived to fill our glasses again, and as the cold liquid swirled in my glass, Chloe turned to me. For a brief second, I thought maybe everything was just a figment of my imagination. Maybe I was just overthinking things. But her next words erased that possibility entirely. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice so soft, yet so final. I should have been braced for it. I should have known. But nothing prepares you for something like this. "I'm leaving you," she whispered, as if saying it aloud would make it more real, more acceptable. I froze. The glass of champagne felt heavy in my hand, as though it no longer belonged to me. I looked at her, then at Jared. His gaze was locked on me now, not in a confrontational way, but in a way that made my stomach churn. It wasn't just guilt. It wasn't just shame. It was something darker, something that I couldn't put my finger on. "I'm leaving you for Jared," Chloe said, and my mind couldn't process the words. She said it so calmly, as if it was a fact, as if it had always been inevitable. My mind was spinning. Jared? Jared? The man who had always been a shadow in our lives. The man who had been just another name on her work emails. Another person I'd never truly thought about. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. But most of all, I couldn't look away from Jared's eyes. There was fear in them now. Fear, but not for me. No, his fear wasn't for me. His fear was for something else entirely. And that's when I knew. This wasn't about Chloe. This wasn't about their affair. No, this was about something much bigger, something that had been brewing for much longer than I could imagine. I just didn't know what it was yet. But I would. And soon. I sat there, my mind still reeling from Chloe's words. She was leaving me. For Jared. I couldn't grasp it, couldn't make sense of it. I wanted to scream, to shout, to demand answers. But the words just wouldn't come. The air between us felt thick, suffocating, and all I could do was stare at her, at him, waiting for someone, anyone, to break the silence. Chloe's eyes were fixed on me, but they were distant, almost as if she was already somewhere else, somewhere without me. There was no emotion in her face, no tears, no remorse. It was as if she had made her decision, and now, nothing could change it. I wanted to beg her to take it back, to tell me it was some cruel joke, but I knew it wasn't. I could see it in her eyes. She had already checked out. Jared, on the other hand, was frozen, his hands trembling slightly, but he was trying so hard to mask it. I could see the way his jaw clenched, how his eyes flicked between Chloe and me. He was trying to play it cool, trying to look calm and collected, but it was clear as day that he was scared. Not scared of me. No, he wasn't worried about what I'd do. But he was scared of something deeper, something darker, something I couldn't yet see. I tried to make sense of it. Jared and Chloe. Was it a fling? Was it something that had been going on behind my back for months, maybe longer? I remembered the late nights Chloe would come home, smelling of perfume that wasn't hers, her hair mussed up, as if she'd been somewhere else entirely. I thought I was just being paranoid. Thought I was imagining things. But now, with her confession hanging in the air like an anchor around my neck, I realized that every little detail had been a sign. Signs that I'd ignored, dismissed, hoping that it was just me being insecure. The waiter came back to refill our champagne glasses, his smile polite but fleeting. He didn't know what was happening at our table. He didn't know that the man and woman in front of him were no longer a couple. As he poured the liquid into my glass, the bubbles fizzed, and I couldn't help but think about how everything that once felt light and beautiful now felt heavy and hollow. The world around me felt muffled, like I was underwater, watching everything unfold without being able to stop it. Chloe's voice cut through the fog of my thoughts. Edward, I'm sorry. I really am. But this is the right thing to do. For both of us. I wanted to scream at her, ask her how she could say that to me after everything we'd shared. But instead, I just sat there, staring at her. It was like she wasn't even the same person anymore. How could someone change so completely? How could the woman I had built a life with, a woman I had trusted above all others, look me in the eyes and tell me she was leaving for him? I glanced at Jared again. He still wasn't saying anything. Just sitting there, his eyes now glued to Chloe, his posture tense, like he was waiting for something. Waiting for her to tell him that it was all okay, that everything would be fine. And when Chloe turned to him, her voice soft and full of that same distant calm, she spoke in a way that made my blood run cold. "We've been planning this for a while, Jared," she said, her tone quiet but deliberate. "It's time. We can't keep pretending." It was then that I realized something that sent a shiver down my spine. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. No, this had been planned. This had been building for months, maybe even longer. I was the last to know. I had been the fool, sitting at the dinner table, thinking everything was fine, when in reality, Chloe and Jared had already mapped out their future together. I was just the casualty in their quiet war. The reality of it hit me hard, but it wasn't the end. It wasn't the worst part. No, the worst part came next. Jared finally spoke, his voice low, almost apologetic. "Edward, I know this is hard to hear, but Chloe and we're in love." And before he could finish, I stood up. The chair scraped loudly against the floor, and I felt the room shift beneath me. I needed space. I needed to breathe. But I didn't know if I could walk away. Could I just leave them there? Could I leave Chloe, the woman I thought I knew, sitting there so casually, talking about her future with someone else? But I didn't move. Not yet. I couldn't bring myself to look away from them. My stomach was a twisted knot of anger, confusion, and humiliation, but I couldn't stop staring. And that's when I saw it, what I had missed before. Jared was sweating. His hands were shaking now, more pronounced than before, and he was trying to mask it with a forced smile. His eyes flicked to Chloe, then back to me, and I saw something in his gaze that I hadn't noticed before. Fear. Fear of me? No, that wasn't it. It was fear of something else. Something far worse. But what was it? What was Jared afraid of? The look on his face was enough to make my heart race. He wasn't the confident, collected man I had assumed him to be. No, there was something beneath the surface, something that neither Chloe nor I could see yet. Chloe, oblivious to the tension, just looked at me with that same distant look in her eyes, as if nothing had changed. "We've already made the arrangements, Edward. This is what's best for both of us," she said, like it was the most logical thing in the world. But the problem wasn't Chloe. It wasn't Jared. It was the fact that they were hiding something. And I wasn't going to leave this table until I figured out what that something was. Because deep down, I knew that this wasn't just about infidelity. This was about something darker, something far more sinister, and I was about to find out exactly what it was. I could feel the walls closing in around me. I wanted to lash out, to throw something, anything, across the room, but my body refused to move. My thoughts were too tangled, too chaotic. The words Chloe had spoken were still echoing in my head, over and over again, like some kind of twisted mantra. "I'm leaving you for Jared." It was surreal. I couldn't accept it. This wasn't my life. This wasn't the woman I had spent years building a future with. But here we were, sitting in a restaurant, under the dim lights, pretending that everything was fine, when the truth was unraveling right in front of us. My hands were gripping the back of my chair so tightly, my knuckles were white. I should have walked away. I should have left right then and there. But something in me held me down, rooted to the spot, as if I had to see this through. I needed answers, and I wasn't going to let them off the hook that easily. Chloe's eyes didn't leave mine. There was no regret there, no hesitation. Just cold, calculated resolve. I didn't recognize her. This wasn't the woman I had married. The woman I had loved. She looked like a stranger, and it hit me like a punch to the gut. But even worse than that was Jared, sitting across the table, pretending to be unaffected, pretending that nothing was out of place. But I saw it. I saw the tremor in his hands, the way his jaw clenched when I met his gaze. This wasn't just about a simple affair. It wasn't just a matter of her cheating on me with him. No, this was something deeper, something more sinister. They were both hiding something from me, and I needed to know what it was. The way Jared was acting, so nervous, so afraid, it wasn't just guilt over the affair. It was something more. I leaned forward, my voice low and steady. "What's going on, Jared?" I asked, my eyes narrowing as I watched him closely. "What aren't you telling me?" His face paled slightly, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of panic in his eyes. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he glanced at Chloe, like he was waiting for some kind of signal, a cue from her. I hated how he did that, how he deferred to her. But it wasn't just that. It was the way he looked at her. It wasn't just admiration. No, it was something darker, something that hinted at control, manipulation. Chloe, as if sensing the tension, finally broke the silence. "Edward, stop. There's no point in pretending anymore. We've already made our decision." She said it with such finality, like it was all wrapped up, like this was the end of the conversation. But I wasn't ready to let it go. Not yet. "Don't you dare," I snapped, my voice rising slightly. "You think you can just walk away from me like this, without any explanation? After everything? You owe me that much." For a brief moment, I saw something flicker in Chloe's eyes, something like guilt. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by that same cold detachment. She looked at me, and then at Jared, before speaking again, her voice now quieter but more insistent. "I never wanted to hurt you, Edward. You have to understand that. But what we've been building together, what you and I had, it wasn't real anymore. It hasn't been for a long time." Her words stung like a slap. She was telling me, in no uncertain terms, that everything we had shared, everything I had thought was sacred, had been nothing more than a facade. She had already moved on. Jared wasn't just a mistake. He wasn't some brief fling. He was her future. But still, something didn't sit right. I could feel it, deep in my gut. It wasn't just about betrayal. It wasn't just about an affair. There was something else, something darker, that neither of them was willing to admit. And I needed to know what it was. I shifted in my seat, trying to gather my thoughts. "You're not telling me everything," I said slowly, my eyes locked on both of them. "There's something you're hiding. And if you think I'm just going to walk away without knowing the truth, then you're wrong." Jared looked like he might protest, but Chloe's hand shot out, silencing him. She turned back to me, her expression hardening. "What we've been keeping from you has nothing to do with you, Edward," she said, her voice clipped, her words laced with an edge I hadn't heard before. "This is about us. Our decision, not yours." I could see the tension in Jared's face now, the way his lips tightened as if he were holding back some kind of confession. Whatever it was big. It was obvious. But what was it? What was it that had them both so scared? Then it hit me. It wasn't just about love. It wasn't just about their relationship. There was something more at play here. Something that had been buried beneath the surface for a long time. Something that neither of them wanted to acknowledge. And I had to know what it was. The waiter came back to the table, as if nothing was wrong. He refilled our glasses, his smile polite, but I could see the unease in his eyes as he glanced at the tension between us. I wondered if he had noticed it before. I wondered how many people had seen the cracks in our marriage before I had. As the champagne flowed into my glass, I couldn't help but feel like I was sinking deeper into some kind of trap. A trap that I had set for myself by staying here, by refusing to let go of something that wasn't mine anymore. I wanted to run. I wanted to get up and leave, but the need for answers kept me rooted in place. Chloe wasn't the woman I had married. And Jared wasn't just some jealous lover. No, this was bigger than that. This was something I wasn't ready for, something neither of them had prepared me for. But I would find out. I would find out what they were hiding, no matter what it took. And that's when the first crack in their perfect plan appeared. It wasn't something I had expected. It wasn't even something I had seen coming. But there it was, sitting in front of me, as clear as day. They weren't just hiding their affair. No, they were hiding something far darker. And the truth was about to come crashing down. I could feel the tension building like a slow-burning fuse, threatening to explode at any moment. The waiter had just refilled our glasses, and I noticed how his hands were shaking as he set down the bottle. Maybe it was just me, but it seemed like everyone around me could sense something was off. The room felt too quiet, too still, like the calm before the storm. And I realized I was no longer sitting at a dinner table with my wife and her boss. No, I was sitting across from two people who had already decided my fate without me even knowing it. Chloe, with her cool, composed demeanor, was trying to act as if nothing had changed. But I saw the cracks. The way her eyes flicked nervously to Jared when she thought I wasn't looking. The tightness in her jaw. The way she held her glass, her fingers tapping on it, as if trying to distract herself from the storm inside her. And Jared, he was no better. The confident, charismatic boss was gone. In his place was a man who couldn't sit still. His eyes darted around, avoiding mine, but it wasn't the kind of guilt I had expected. It was fear. Fear of something much bigger than me. I leaned forward, my voice low but firm. "What aren't you telling me, Chloe?" I asked, my eyes locked onto hers. "You and Jared aren't just together, are you? This goes deeper. It's something more than just an affair, isn't it?" Chloe stiffened, her face tightening. For a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of regret in her eyes. Just a flicker, but it was gone so quickly, I couldn't be sure. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Jared shifted uncomfortably in his seat, and I saw him glance at her, as if waiting for permission to speak. And that's when I realized Chloe was in control now. She was the one holding the power, not me. Jared was just a pawn in whatever game she was playing. But why? Why was she doing this to me? Why had she gone so far to hide whatever they were truly involved in? "Edward," Chloe said, her voice flat, "we've already talked about this. I never wanted to hurt you. But you need to understand, this has been building for a long time. It's not something that can just be fixed." I stared at her, disbelief spreading through me. "Building? What are you talking about? This isn't just a mistake, Chloe. You don't just leave your husband like this. Not after everything we've been through." Her gaze softened for a moment, but then she looked at Jared again, and I saw something change in her expression, something colder, more calculating. It wasn't just the betrayal. No, there was something beneath it. Something she wasn't willing to say. Then Jared spoke. His voice was shaky, like he wasn't sure whether he should speak at all. "Look, Edward," he started, but his words trailed off as he looked at Chloe, as if waiting for a signal. His eyes were wide, filled with panic. "Chloe and we're—" "Enough," I interrupted, unable to contain the rising anger that was now bubbling in my chest. "What is this, Jared? What the hell is going on between you two? What aren't you telling me? You both look like you're hiding something big. What is it?" For a moment, Jared looked like he might break. His lips parted, but he didn't speak. Chloe's hand reached out, gently touching his arm, and he visibly relaxed under her touch. It was clear to me now that whatever was happening between them, it wasn't just about sex or love. No, this was about control. It was about something far more dangerous. Chloe stood up, breaking the fragile silence. She paced around the table for a moment, her heels clicking sharply on the floor before stopping to face me. Her voice was soft, almost too soft, when she finally spoke. Edward, there's something you don't understand. You think you know what's going on. You think you know me. But you don't. You've never really understood me. Her words felt like a slap, but it wasn't just her tone. It was the way she said it. As if she were speaking from a place of finality, a place where there was no going back. As if she had already given up on me, on us. Jared didn't look at me. He was staring down at the table, his hand gripping the edge, his knuckles white. The fear was still in his eyes, but now, there was something else. Something darker. You're both lying, I said, my voice thick with disbelief and rising anger. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to find out. You can't just walk away from this. Not like this. You owe me the truth. Chloe's lips curled into a tight smile, but it wasn't a smile of reassurance. It was a smile of someone who knew something I didn't. You want the truth, Edward? Fine, she said, her voice suddenly colder, sharper. The truth is, you've never been a part of the real world we've been living in. All those late nights, all those business trips I had to take, you never questioned it. You never asked the right questions. I felt the blood drain from my face. What was she talking about? What was she trying to say? Jared finally looked up at me, and for the first time, he spoke without hesitation. There's more to this than you think. Chloe and we've been involved in something bigger than you can imagine. This isn't just an affair, Edward. This is about something else entirely. Something dangerous. His words hung in the air like a threat, and that's when I realized I had no idea what I was dealing with. What Chloe and Jared had been hiding from me wasn't just betrayal. It wasn't just infidelity. No, this was something much darker. Something I was only beginning to understand. I stood up from the table, the realization hitting me like a ton of bricks. What the hell are you talking about? What do you mean by dangerous? I asked, my voice trembling now, the uncertainty in my chest taking over. But before either of them could answer, the lights in the restaurant flickered. For a brief second, everything went dark, and then the lights came back on. The shift in atmosphere was instantaneous. The air was thick with something I couldn't quite place. And as I turned back to Chloe and Jared, I knew something was about to happen. Something I hadn't prepared for. Something that would change everything. And just like that, the first crack in their facade widened. The truth was starting to slip out, and I was about to learn exactly what they had been hiding from me all along. The room felt colder, the air heavier. It wasn't just the flicker of the lights that unnerved me. There was something in the way Chloe and Jared were looking at me, as though they were holding back a truth so immense, so terrifying, that they were afraid even saying it aloud would make it real. I could see the shift in their demeanor, how they both stiffened when the lights went out for that brief second. It was as if they were expecting something, or someone, to show up. And then, when the lights returned, their faces were different, harder, colder. It was as if the atmosphere had just taken on a new, dangerous weight. Jared opened his mouth as though he were about to say something, but Chloe held up a hand, silencing him. She looked at me, her eyes colder than I had ever seen them before. I thought I knew her. Hell, I thought we knew each other inside and out. But this was someone else sitting across from me now, someone who was playing a game I hadn't been invited to. And Jared, her boss, her lover, was the one who had drawn me into it. I think it's time we told you everything, Chloe said, her voice steady but sharp, like a knife hidden in velvet. She looked at Jared, and he nodded, as though he was bracing himself for what was coming. I leaned in, my heart pounding in my chest, trying to steady my breathing. I had no idea what they were about to say, but it was obvious now, whatever this was, it was so much bigger than just a betrayal. This was something that had been brewing for years, and I was standing at the edge of it, trying to catch my breath. Edward, Chloe began, her voice quiet but piercing. What we're about to tell you. It's not something that's easy to hear, but you deserve to know. I couldn't help it. I scoffed, the bitterness rising in my throat. Deserve to know? You think I deserve to know? You've been lying to me for who knows how long, and now you want to act like you're doing me a favor? She didn't flinch, didn't look away. You have no idea what you're really a part of. What we've been a part of. This isn't just about me and Jared. This is about a lot of people. People much more dangerous than you think. And we've kept you in the dark for your own protection. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. My head spun. Protection? From what? From who? Jared shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his hands clenched into fists. He looked at me with an intensity that felt almost apologetic. We didn't want you involved in this, Edward. But it was too late for that. Once you found out, there was no going back. I shook my head in disbelief. Found out? I didn't know anything until a few minutes ago. And even now, you're barely telling me anything. You're giving me pieces of a story without telling me what the hell is really going on. Chloe's expression hardened. We were trying to protect you, but that's no longer possible. There are people who won't stop until they get what they want. And we can't protect you anymore. I leaned back in my chair, trying to make sense of what she was saying. You can't protect me anymore? What? Are you too involved with criminals? Are you telling me you're in some kind of, I don't know, organized crime? The words felt ridiculous as soon as I said them, but the look on Chloe's face made it clear that what I had just suggested wasn't far from the truth. Her eyes darkened, and she gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. My pulse quickened. I couldn't breathe. Jared's voice cut through the tension, low and full of urgency. It's not like that, exactly. But we're caught up in something. Something we can't just walk away from. And now, you're in it too. I stared at him, feeling the ground shift beneath me. What do you mean, I'm in it too? I didn't ask for this, you know. I didn't ask to be dragged into whatever mess you two are in. Chloe's expression softened, but there was still that edge to her voice. We didn't want to involve you, but it's too late. You're already part of this. And if you don't understand that, then you're not seeing the bigger picture. My thoughts were racing now, trying to grasp what they were telling me. So what? You're involved with some shady people, and now you're trying to drag me into it? Why? Why would you do this to me? Chloe's eyes flicked to Jared, and I could see that silent conversation pass between them. Whatever it was they were holding back, whatever this bigger picture was, it was more than I could even begin to imagine. But it wasn't just about a betrayal anymore. No, this was something much more sinister. Something that I wasn't prepared for. Jared's voice broke through the silence again, his eyes never leaving mine. It's not that simple, Edward. There are forces at play here that you don't understand. People who would do anything to get what they want. We've made mistakes, but now, we need to find a way out. And we need your help. I felt my chest tighten. Help? You want my help after everything? After you've been lying to me for God knows how long. Chloe took a deep breath, as though gathering herself for what she was about to say. This isn't just about what's happened between us. This is about what happens next. People are watching us. People are watching you. And if you don't help us, if you don't trust us, we won't make it out of this alive. Her words hung in the air, heavy and final. For the first time, I felt a flicker of genuine fear, the kind of fear that had nothing to do with the dissolution of my marriage. This was something far darker than an affair, something I had no understanding of, and yet, somehow, I was caught in the middle of it. My mind was spinning, trying to make sense of what they were telling me. It was like trying to piece together a puzzle with half the pieces missing. But one thing was clear, I couldn't walk away. Not now. As I sat there, staring at Chloe and Jared, I knew that whatever they had been hiding, whatever they had dragged me into, it was too late to back out now. There was no turning back. And that's when I understood something crucial. The truth they had been hiding wasn't just dangerous for them. It was dangerous for me, too. The stakes had just been raised, and I was no longer just a bystander in my own life. I was a part of something far bigger, and I had no idea how deep it went. But I was about to find out, whether I liked it or not. The weight of their words settled in my chest like a stone, too heavy to ignore, too pressing to simply brush aside. Chloe and Jared were involved in something far more dangerous than I could comprehend. The night I thought was just another anniversary dinner had now turned into a nightmare. The lines between betrayal and something far darker were starting to blur, and I was standing at the crossroads, caught between two people I thought I knew, and a world I didn't understand. Chloe and Jared exchanged another brief, meaningful look, something I didn't miss, and neither did the unease in my stomach. It wasn't the look of two people who had been lovers for years, secretly plotting to take me down. No, it was something else. They were scared, terrified even. This wasn't just about their affair anymore. They were involved in something that went far beyond me, beyond their relationship. Something they had dragged me into, whether they wanted to or not. I swallowed, the knot in my throat tightening. You're saying, you're in some kind of trouble. Some serious trouble. And now, I'm a part of it. Why? How did I get dragged into this? My voice trembled slightly, but I tried to steady it. I couldn't show them any more weakness. Not now. Not when I was this close to the truth. Chloe leaned back in her chair, her fingers playing with the edge of her wine glass, her gaze fixed on me. We didn't mean for you to be involved, Edward. We tried to keep you out of it, tried to protect you. But she paused, her expression faltering for a second before she continued. But you've seen too much now, and there's no going back. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I leaned in, my voice rising despite myself. Seen too much? What the hell does that mean? All I've seen so far is my wife telling me she's leaving me for her boss, and you two sitting there acting like nothing's wrong. You've been lying to me for months. Hell, for years. So what's really going on? What is it you're not telling me? Jared, who had been silent for most of the conversation, finally spoke. His voice was low, almost a whisper, but there was an unmistakable tension in the air, like he was afraid of saying too much. You don't know what you're dealing with, Edward. You think this is just a personal issue between us. But it's not. This is much bigger than you or us. I couldn't suppress a bitter laugh. Oh, now it's bigger than us? You two have been lying to me, cheating on me, and now you expect me to just sit here and listen to your cryptic little warnings? No, I'm done being in the dark. Chloe's face tightened, and for a brief moment, I saw something flash in her eyes, a hint of desperation. She leaned forward, her voice now low and urgent. You don't understand, Edward. You're not just caught in the middle of a messy affair. You're tangled up in something much darker. People have been watching us. Watching you. The blood drained from my face. My mouth went dry. What do you mean watching me? Who are these people? And what the hell do they want with me? Jared glanced nervously around the restaurant, his eyes darting back to Chloe. It was clear he was no longer comfortable talking about this in public. He shifted in his seat, clearly on edge, and then turned to me, his voice dropping even lower. There's a group, a powerful group, that Chloe and I got involved with. They control things behind the scenes, things that most people don't even know about. Businesses, politics, the kind of people who make or break governments. You've never even noticed them, but they've been watching us, and they've been watching you for a long time. The world seemed to tilt. The words Jared was speaking sounded like something straight out of a movie. Too surreal, too impossible to be real. But the look in his eyes, the fear, the panic, told me it wasn't a joke. This was real. It had to be. You're telling me that you're mixed up with criminals? Like some underground cartel? Is that what this is? I asked, my voice shaking despite my best efforts to stay calm. Chloe's eyes darkened, her lips pressing together tightly. It's not that simple. They're not just criminals, Edward. They're businessmen, politicians, people with power. People who don't like being challenged. And we got involved with them because we thought we could use their power. We thought we could manipulate the system. And now they're going to kill us, aren't they? I said, the realization dawning on me. That's why you're scared. That's why you're doing this. Chloe didn't answer immediately. She just stared at me, her eyes haunted, as if the weight of everything they'd done was crashing down on her. She nodded slowly, confirming what I had already guessed. Jared's face was pale, his eyes wide with fear. If we don't play along, if we don't help them get what they want, then yes, we're dead. And so are you. They've already set their sights on you. You've seen too much. We're all in this together now. I leaned back in my chair, trying to process the chaos spiraling around me. My mind raced. Too fast, too many thoughts. What the hell was going on? How had my life gone from the simple, predictable routine of marriage to this twisted nightmare? Chloe and Jared were no longer the people I thought I knew. They weren't just a cheating couple. They were part of something much darker, something far more dangerous. And I, by some twisted stroke of fate, was now part of it too. I looked at them both, my mind spinning. So, what do you want from me? I asked, my voice flat now, resigned. You want me to help you get out of this mess? Is that it? Chloe's gaze softened, but there was still a hardness to it. We want you to trust us, Edward. We need you. You're the only one who can help us. I could hardly believe the words coming out of her mouth. My wife, was asking me to help them escape from the very people who had dragged them into this mess. To help them escape from a world of danger and lies. But I didn't have a choice. Whether I liked it or not, I was already in this. They had dragged me into their nightmare, and now there was no getting out. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. I needed space. I needed to think. My entire life had just been shattered in front of me, and now I had to make a choice. a choice I wasn't ready to make. But before I could leave, Chloe reached out, grabbing my arm. "Edward," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You need to understand. If you walk away now, if you don't help us, they'll come for you. They'll come for all of us." I looked at her, the woman who had once been my everything, and saw something I hadn't seen before: fear. True, raw fear. The kind that made her look so small, so fragile. And for the first time that night, I realized something. Chloe wasn't the enemy here. She wasn't the one I had to worry about. The real enemy was still out there, and they were watching us. And if I didn't do something soon, we were all going to be swallowed whole. The words hung in the air like a heavy fog, suffocating me with their weight. "They'll come for you." Those words kept replaying in my head over and over again, drowning out everything else. It wasn't just a threat. It was a promise, a chilling, cold-blooded promise that seemed to echo from somewhere far deeper than just the two people sitting in front of me. Chloe's hand, still gripping my arm, felt like a lifeline, but it also felt like a chain, dragging me further into the nightmare they had created. I stared at her, my thoughts a blur of confusion, betrayal, and fear. This was real. It wasn't just some twisted scenario I could walk away from. I had been pulled into this, whether I liked it or not. And now, standing on the edge of this madness, I had to decide: sink or swim. Chloe's eyes were wide with desperation. "Edward, please. You have to trust us. You have to believe that we didn't want this to happen." Her voice was shaky now, the facade of control cracking as her vulnerability began to seep through. For the first time, I saw the woman I thought I knew. The woman I had fallen in love with, stripped of the cold, calculated demeanor she had worn through the years. She was terrified. I couldn't look away. I saw the same fear in Jared's eyes, too. He was no longer the confident, controlling boss who had effortlessly held power over the situation. The man in front of me now was a mere shadow of that person. His eyes were wide, his posture rigid. He was on the edge of something, and I wasn't sure if it was fear or guilt that was eating him alive. "You've already made your choice, Edward," Jared said, his voice barely a whisper, as if the weight of his own confession was too much to bear. "You're in this now. There's no walking away." I was paralyzed. I had spent the past few years in a state of relative comfort, routine, predictability, my life locked in a world of familiarity. But now, everything was falling apart, and I was powerless to stop it. The realization hit me like a thunderclap. Chloe and Jared weren't the ones who had dragged me into this. No, I had dragged myself into it. By being here. By staying. By loving them. "I don't understand," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, like I was trying to convince myself I wasn't going mad. "You're telling me there's a group that controls everything? A group that can just..." I stopped, shaking my head in disbelief. I didn't even know how to finish that sentence. Chloe sighed, her hand still gripping my arm, and her voice was filled with something softer now. Remorse, perhaps. Or maybe it was just exhaustion. "Edward, we didn't ask for this. We thought we could use them. We thought we could make it work. But we were just pawns. And now they've decided to play with us, play with you. You're involved now because of the things you've seen. The things you don't even realize you've seen." Jared nodded, his lips pressed tight. "You've been closer to this than you think. All the questions you've had over the past few months, the late nights, the strange behavior. It wasn't paranoia, Edward. It was them. We didn't even know how deep it went until it was too late." I stood there, unable to move, feeling like the walls were closing in on me. "What do you want from me?" I managed to say, my voice hoarse, trembling with confusion and fear. "You want me to help you get out of this? After everything you've done?" Chloe looked at me with those same green eyes that had once been full of warmth and love, but now felt distant, like she was 1,000 miles away. "It's not that simple, Edward. We don't want to get out of it. We want to survive it. We need to make it out alive. And for that, we need your help." I felt a surge of anger, of disbelief. "You're asking me for help? After everything? You think I'm going to help you after you? After you?" I stopped, my words dying in my throat. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This wasn't just a broken marriage. No, this was about survival. And I was caught in the middle of something I didn't understand. "I know what you're thinking," Chloe said, her voice barely audible. "You think I'm a liar, that I've betrayed you, that we've manipulated you. But I need you to understand, Edward. It's not about us anymore. It's about staying alive. about making sure this thing doesn't swallow us whole. I felt my heart race, the cold chill of dread seeping into my bones. Every word they said felt like another brick being added to a wall I couldn't escape. You want me to be a part of this? You want me to help you with them? My voice faltered as I spoke, the fear too overwhelming now to ignore. Yes, Jared replied, his voice thick with desperation. But it's not about loyalty anymore. It's about survival. You need to understand that. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But there was nowhere to go. There was no escaping what they were telling me. No escaping the people who were out there, watching us, waiting for us to slip up. Tell me what I have to do, I said, the words leaving my mouth before I could stop them. It felt like a surrender, like I was giving up, like I was letting them win. But in that moment, I realized I didn't have a choice. There was no walking away. Chloe looked at me, a mixture of gratitude and guilt in her eyes. It's not about just doing something for us, Edward. You have to help us get to the people who can protect us. We can't keep running forever. We need to end this before they end us. I shook my head, trying to process it all. You're asking me to get involved in something I don't understand, something dangerous, and you want me to trust you? Chloe nodded slowly. Yes, we're in this together now, whether we like it or not. There's no way out. But if you help us, maybe we can all make it through this. The air felt thick, the weight of the decision pressing down on me like a vice. I was standing on the edge of something I didn't fully understand, but I knew one thing. There was no going back. And as I looked at Chloe, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear, I realized something else. She wasn't the woman I thought I knew. Jared wasn't the man I thought I knew either. They were both just as lost in this world as I was. And I had no idea what I was walking into, but there was no turning back now. The descent had begun, and I was falling headfirst into the darkness. The question now was, could we survive it? The silence stretched between us like a chasm, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down. I was suffocating in the uncertainty, in the darkness that Chloe and Jared had dragged me into. Every part of me screamed to run, to escape this nightmare. But I couldn't. There was no escape from this world they had brought me into. Not anymore. But in that moment, as I looked at the two of them, Chloe, still holding onto my arm, her face pale and drawn, and Jared, whose eyes were filled with a mixture of fear and something more, something like regret, I realized something I hadn't fully grasped before. This wasn't just about survival. It wasn't just about escaping the people hunting us, or getting away from the dangers they had caused. This was about rebuilding, about finding a way forward, even in the darkest of times. Edward, we didn't drag you into this because we wanted to hurt you, Chloe said softly, her voice trembling. We did it because we believed we could change things. But now we need to fix this. Together. We can't do it without you. Her words hit me harder than I expected. I had spent so long feeling betrayed, angry, and helpless. But in that moment, something shifted. The anger and bitterness that had been boiling inside me for so long started to dissipate, replaced by a quiet, growing determination. They were asking for my help, not out of obligation, but because they truly believed we could get out of this. They wanted a second chance. And somehow I realized I did too. I don't know if I can trust you again, I said, the words feeling like a confession I hadn't wanted to admit. But I can't just walk away from this. I've already seen too much. Jared, who had been tense and silent until now, let out a long breath. We don't deserve your trust, Edward, but we'll do whatever it takes to earn it. And we'll protect you, too. We'll protect each other. Chloe's hand tightened on mine, and she gave me a small, shaky smile. We're in this together now, no matter what happens. And we'll find a way to make it right. For the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope. It wasn't the kind of hope that comes from everything magically fixing itself. No, it was a different kind of hope. The kind that comes from the understanding that no matter how dark things had gotten, we still had each other. We still had a chance. Okay, I said finally, my voice steady but soft. Let's do this. Together. The weight that had been crushing me slowly lifted, replaced by a new sense of resolve. We didn't have all the answers. We didn't know how we were going to escape the mess we were in. But we had each other, and that was enough to start. The restaurant, once an oppressive setting for the storm that had torn through our lives, suddenly felt different. The lights, though dim, seemed warmer. The air didn't feel as suffocating. And as we sat there, together, I realized that the worst part was over. We had hit rock bottom, but now we had the chance to rise. We had the chance to rebuild. Jared looked at me, a real smile finally forming on his face. You've got our back, Edward. And we've got yours. Chloe, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and relief, nodded. We're not alone anymore. And in that moment, I believed it. Despite everything that had happened, despite the lies and the betrayal, we were going to make it out of this. Together. It wasn't going to be easy. It wasn't going to be perfect. But for the first time, I saw a path forward. And that was enough. We weren't just surviving anymore. We were going to live. And we were going to do it on our terms. The darkness wasn't over, but we had each other, and that made all the difference. The future was uncertain, but as I looked at Chloe and Jared, two people I never thought I'd stand by again, I realized something profound. Sometimes, the greatest strength isn't in the battles we fight alone, but in the battles we choose to fight together. And in that moment, I knew we had the strength to face whatever came next. Together.